Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Songeta News Network. Today, we just got a road ahead dropped, and it's got information about Leviathan, new Galactic Legend Leia, and a new raid, which I don't know how I feel about. We also got information about a new Conquest character, so we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. But missing is any information on Grand Inquisitor event coming back. So let's get into it. So first major topic that they actually dive into is Leviathan. This has the kit reveal in the Road Ahead. This is also the first Road Ahead written by Tuscan Meathead, I believe. And it's lacking a lot of things we normally see, like pictures to illustrate things and just more screenshots of the game. So I don't know, it's kind of wordy and it's just encapsulating some information we already know, like the requirements of Leviathan. But it makes some puns about what it's gonna do. It's basically gonna steal the enemy capital ship as part of its ultimate. So it's not destroying it, but it is stealing it, which I thought they were gonna be a little bit more creative and get away from the capital ship destruction, because they said it wouldn't destroy the capital ship, but stealing it is basically that same thing, just better. I don't know. Maybe I don't think it's a good thing for power creep. Just going spiraling upward and upward with what the capital ship does with its ultimates. But it does have a unique kit. It is Darth Revan, so it is centered around ferocity, which is that jaw debuff that Darth Revan has. And its basic Fusillade. You inflict shock for 2 turns. All allies gain ferocity for 2 turns. If it already had shock, you inflict doubt for 2 turns from 2 random enemies, which is really strong. And if Seize the Bridge has been used, which is the ultimate, you dispel all buffs on the target and inflict fear for 1 turn, which can't be dispel resisted. So basic really gets a power up after you use the ultimate, which is pretty cool. And specials are a little bit weird. Each of them can only be used once per battle, both Special 1, Special 2, and then the Ultimate, which is Special 3. And Special 1 can only be used if you've already inflicted 15 debuffs. What it does is all your Sith allies gain crit immunity and 5 stacks of ferocity for 2 turns, some health recovery, and increase the reinforcement ability on the enemy capital ship. But if they're light side, and then you also inflict capital ship with sabotage. Inflict capital ship sabotage on all enemies until the end of the encounter, which does next time the allied ship calls to reinforce is immediately destroyed upon deployment. So that is incredibly powerful, and that I don't know how I feel about for theory crafting potential. It's nice that it's limited once you do debuffs, because it's incredibly strong. It's basically preventing them from bringing in any reinforcements, and that's a main, the backbone of a lot of fleets. Second special also can only be used once. Reduce the enemy capital ship's speed by 30% for the rest of the encounter and remove 30% turn meter. It can't be resisted, but I don't know if that actually affects profundity, since you can't manipulate turn meter against profundity. Then Sith allies can crit immunity and ferocity for 2 turns. A target Sith ally gains breach immunity for 3 turns. So, kind of weird. It doesn't do too much. It's not dealing damage. I don't know. The fact that it's reducing the capital ship's speed by 30% makes sense why it can only be used for once per battle, but otherwise it's not super strong. And then we got the ultimate. Can only be once in the battle. Can only be used also after the first 2 specials have been used. So it's at least a 3rd turn ability, and probably after that, because you usually want to call some reinforcements in the middle there. You basically steal the enemy capital ship, but you can't use its ultimate. You can't call its reinforcements. So you can basically only use its specials or its basic ability. I don't know how much using its abilities are going to help if it's a mismatched ship. Like if it's another Leviathan, that's kind of interesting. Can you just use abilities that are supposed to only be used once per match? And if it's like a light side ship, is it mismatched for its abilities? Like if you're limited on who you can call to assist or something. So interesting to see how that's going to work out. Your team also heals 50%, deals fear for 1 turn, and then the first time Sith allies are inflicted with 50 debuffs, reduce the cooldown of this ability by 1. So it also is a 5-turn cooldown, actually. Just missed that. So yeah, you're going to want to use your couple specials and a call to reinforcement. before actually using this. And then the crew ability, which is basically the leadership ability of the capital ship, plus 15% max health. Crit immunity for 1 turn, and 1 stack ferocity, and 1 stack if we ever turn for 2 turns at the beginning of the match, just for Sith ships. And then Sith Empire ships gain an additional stack if we ever turn. That's the unique buff to Taron Malicos currently. And then whenever an enemy is summoned, reduce their max health by 50%. So that's going to apply to, I'm guessing, just the Vulture droids and the summoned TIE fighters from Scythe. Just things like that for summoning. And then enemies attacking out of turn deal 50% less crit damage to attacker Sith allies. And it's only attacker, not tank. So that's interesting. Then whenever an enemy's debuff expires, a random Sith ship gains 1 stack ferocity for 2 turns, limited once per turn. And then Mark 6 Interceptor gains an additional 10 stacks of Devouring Storm when it's starting its first turn after it's deployed. So that's interesting. That's actually reducing the amount of time you need to get that ultimate on, or that insta-kill on the basic off. I thought you'd have to have it be the 3rd reinforcement, but this might make that possible after just 2 reinforcements. So we'll see. Then whenever an enemy reinforces, inflict daze on all enemies for 1 turn. Sith ships are immune to max health reduction. And then for the reinforcement bonus, Sith ships' attacks can't be evaded. That's pretty nice. That's really anti-Scythe, TIE Defender, and Profundity. And they gain 5 stacks of Ferocity, ignore taunt effects until the end of the turn, and stun target enemy for 1 turn, which can't be resisted when deployed. So they can't be evaded. I don't know if that's only applying for the 1 turn, but it seems like that part stays. And then only ignoring taunts is till the end of the turn. And this is coming out July 19th, so I think a lot of people were expecting it to be out sooner. This is going to be before the next conquest ends, but some people would have been able to finish off this ship during that second conquest with, I don't know, the conquest pass and shipments. So the fact that they said we needed to get Fury right away to be able to get Leviathan first right away, not quite accurate. He also told us that Galactic Legend Leia is coming. Seems like it's going to be Endor Leia based on the theming. Didn't bring too much about it. They gave us her basic ability. It's deal physical damage, rebel allies gain retribution for 2 turns. Pretty simple. But on her turn, deal bonus true damage to target enemy equal to 10% of the damage other rebel allies received since her last turn, and deal additional effects based on the target enemy's roll. Connection lost. I'm sure that's what the ability actually says, connection lost. That's a confusing ability, but more importantly, we have the first set of requirements. Most of these are not surprising. Rex, Relic 7, saw that coming. Wicket, Relic 3. I'm glad it's Relic 3 only, because Wicket, Ewoks, maybe they'll be better after this with a rework or the new character they have, but who knows. Akbar, Relic 3. Lando Calrissian, Relic 5. I already have him Relic 5, so that's nice. That's for something else. Is that for Luke? And then Princess Nisa, Relic 7. If you're asking who Princess Nisa is, it is this Powerpuff Girl of an Ewok. She was an Ewok female who resided in Bright Tree Village on the Forest Moon of Endor. I think it's just like a cartoon character. I don't remember this being in like the movie. She first appeared in the 2015 non-canon video game Disney Infinity 3.0, so that sounds like a very important game. So yeah, we're gonna get a weird, I don't know, made-up Ewok from later on, and probably gonna revitalize Ewoks, but we gotta wait and see. And then the other new character they hinted at is this at the bottom of the roadhead is Drogon, a rebel captain who fought with the rebellion on Endor and is a key part of the GL Leia squad. And if you have no idea who Drogon is, you're not alone. This is just a character they're making up, kind of like Sortie was made up for the Old Republic era, that faction and droids. This guy's going to be made up for rebels. He has not just had a limb difference, but also a sense of justice and passion to help those in need. From the start, we focused on designing Drogon to not only be authentic, but also to be a character that feels part of the broader Star Wars universe. So I don't know what they mean limb difference. Is he like multi-armed like General Grievous? Very interesting. And now we're getting to the part where I think this is a very bad This is a very bad piece of news, and it might not seem like it on its face, but I really think it is. They're bringing in a new Return of the Jedi raid, which is fine. But the terrible thing is the timing, how it seems like it's going to work, and the restrictions on it. So first of all, they're looking to have this done by the fall or end of 2023. And we just got Crate Raid at the beginning of May. So even if this comes out December 31st, 2023, that is far too soon, because for endgame players that might be fine, but for like mid-game guilds even, people make long-term farming strategies based on this raid, the Crate Raid, and if it's getting obsoleted in like 6 months, that's terrible. Like, to be obsolete within 6 months, it would have to come back in November. This would have to come out in November, which is a realistic outcome. Which, even for new players, I mean, I just revamped my farming guide, assuming Crate would be good for at least a year. And yes, Java is still going to be really valuable, but it's so hard as a newer player in this game to plan long term when major things such as raids are just moving targets. You'd be better off guessing, like skipping planning for the Endor raid and just guess what the next raid's going to be and then shoot for that as a new player. And it's like, that's so hit or miss. It's just, how can you work with that? They're also, it seems like it's going to be weird. They're calling out the Dash Rendar event, which was like it was like N64 running from left to right and fighting people on a different train. You're going to be fighting like the scout troopers on the speeder bikes. It's going to be a 3v3 raid, and it's like, it's not even your normal character's abilities. They're like, for the example they gave is Jedi Knight Luke, his repulse ability is replaced with divert attention. That's cool. Like, what's cooler, throwing out force stuns or diverting attention? It's like, it's so weird. And you're not dealing traditional damage, but scoring points in the raid via different types of stacking effects onto enemies, which, I mean, in the Crate Raid, like, the points you get aren't specifically damage figures. The damage is much higher and then it's transferred into points. But I think this is weirder. I don't like this. This is transfer. Like, this is just, you know what it reminds me of? This reminds me of the rock, paper, scissors part of the Rey and Kylo event. And this is back from March 2020 when they came out with Rey and Kylo. I mean, this was a new type of event. They said, they're like, oh, this is a new type of character, so we want them to come out in a new type of event. So they're like, oh, we came out with this new format. And that new format was requiring you to get the Galactic Legends tickets, or Dark Side, Light Side tickets, and then go through this painfully long unlock process. So, in my mind, this new raid battle format can't be good for anybody. It just, anytime they're trying to like change up the traditional way the game works, it's terrible. The rock, paper, scissors part was especially bad. They never came back to it. It's been like 3.5 years almost since then. But it was basically just a formula. You do the same every time. It was like almost universally hated. It was just painful. And I mean, people still have to go through, because like if a newer player gets Kylo or Rey, they just have to go look up an old video and decide when to use parry, when to use, I don't know, whatever else they are, block. I don't like this new raid structure. There was a limiting who you can use. You bring 3 characters from this list. And if you don't like 3v3 Grand Arena, I don't know if you're really going to like 3v whatever raids. But this list is basically Rebels, Ewoks, Jedi Knight Luke, and Imperial Troopers. But it's not all of each of those factions. I mean, Rebels are severely limited, I think. Like, these are all the Rebels, basically. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 Rebels. You can't even use a full Phoenix. You can use Hera, but not the rest of the Phoenix members. You have 1 Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker. You got, like, you can use as many Ewoks as you can Rebels, and then a bunch of Imperial Troopers. Not Dark Troopers. So you could have, like, a normal Iden Versio team and a General Veers team. You also have Moff Gideon. So, like, I mean, was Moff Gideon there? It's, I don't know. It's like halfway between lore accurate and halfway just like we don't want to let you use a whole rebel faction because it's a good faction. You can use most of like the good Luke team, but you can't use Commander Luke Skywalker, and you can't use 3PO and Chewie. So I don't know, and they're just replacing their abilities. Oh, and they said, don't think we forgot about how your mods and unique abilities will work either. Increasing Luke's potency will increase the amount of distract stacks applied with each use. This sounds bad. And at the end they say, a reminder, many of these announcements are still in development and details are subject to change. Please change everything about that. I can see the writing on the wall. I think it's going to be bad. Like, when you try to reinvent the wheel, just stick with a normal combat system. I mean, 5v5... like Swigga, that's the game. I mean, let them use the normal abilities, open up who you can use more. If you have to start relicking, like, I don't know, Ewoks, maybe Ewoks will be good in the end, but I don't know. I am very pessimistic about this, and I don't like to be overtly negative about it, but I just think it's not going to lead anywhere good. Switching gears, we are getting this guy, and he looks awesome. Taron Malicos. He's not heavy on the tags. He's an attacker and unaligned force user. He's from the Jedi Fallen Order games, or maybe just the second game. I haven't played them. Sorry, guys. But he looks pretty sweet, and I have no idea how he'll perform because, you know, you never know until they actually hit the game. But he's a Conquest character. They threw it in here somewhere, but they didn't throw it in at the beginning. He's got 3 Grand Arena Omicrons. They have, I think this is weird, they have FAQ when this is new to everybody. Like, this is like when they made up their FAQ for Datacrons. It's like, okay, who was asking these? I mean, maybe they're just talking amongst themselves in the studio, and people that don't understand the kit are asking the questions to other members of the studio. But that's just kind of odd. So let's look at his kit. I'm just going to start with the basic and abilities and then go to uniques. He does not have a leadership ability, so he might be a good Star Killer character or whatnot, not sure. Basic, deal physical damage to target enemy and gain 2 stacks of Edge of Madness, max 100 until the end of the encounter. Can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented, and the attack can't be countered. So Edge of Madness, on its face, not even good. Minus 2% defense per stack. So obviously that's going to tie in later in his kit. Special 1, Vile Thrash, cooldown 3 Zeta. Deal physical damage to enemy and gain Riposte for 2 turns. They're throwing out Riposte more. Riposte is one of the best buffs in the game. Attacks under protection. So that's pretty sweet. The attack itself has 30% defense penetration. Quadrupled if all allies are UFUs. So that'd be plus 120%, which is pretty good. And then if he has at least 20 stacks of Edge of Madness, he takes a bonus turn, which is very nice. For every 20 stacks of Madness, he that has dispelled them and gain a stack of Madness Manifested until the next time he uses Die Whelp, the second special, or he is defeated, or at the end of the encounter. And that buff can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. If the ally is a Dark Side, or like I said, UFU, the cooldown Die Whelp is reset when he uses this special. And then Madness Manifested, the buff does, or maybe it's a debuff, I don't know. Minus 40% tenacity per stack. And the next time he uses his second special, deals 50% more physical damage per stack. So that could stack like Geospy's Silent Strike or Darth Vader's Culling Blade, something like that. Rex's Aerial Advantage, but probably not as high. But he's also going to reduce the max health of the target enemy by 50% for the rest of the battle, except Galactic Legends and raid bosses. Can't be resisted, and then removes all stacks of Madness Manifested. So he has to start over from scratch after that. Then we get to the third special in his first Omicron. He deals physical damage and vulnerable to all enemies. That's a pretty cool animation. Throwing rocks at everyone, that actually looks sick. Stuns target for 1 turn. If target had defense down, stun is irresistible. Nice. If the target is a leader, increase their cooldowns by 1. So that kind of makes me think of Darth Revan, because he gets an extra bonus for targeting the leader. But in Grand Arena, as he deals additional true damage to all enemies and inflicts buff immunity and healing immunity on target enemy for 2 turns, which can't be resisted. So those are 2 very powerful buffs. Can almost shut someone down in terms of what they can actually recover. And then the ally, if the leader is an UFU, he gains 20% crit damage and offense until the end of the battle. So my guess is you want to do this as often as possible, but with a cooldown of 6, not going to happen so often. He has 2 uniques. First one is Zeta and Omicron. To start out, all allies just have 30% critical chance. Very nice. If all allies were Ufus at the start of the battle, when he has at least 1 stack of Edge of Madness, whenever he scores a critical hit, all allies gain 5% crit damage in offense until the end of the encounter. So, if you want him attacking a lot, he's going to ramp your whole team up. Whenever an ally is inflicted with healing immunity, they dispel it, flip it around, and gain damage immunity for 1 turn. That is crazy. Healing immunity is already a pain to deal with, and I assume this isn't going to be able to get through locked healing immunity. But if it's dispellable, that's going to be really nice. Instead of not being able to heal, you won't be able to be hurt. Whenever they're inflicted with stun, they dispel and recover health and protection. So that is awesome. Again, not going to affect a locked stun like Supreme or Kylo Ren or Padme, but that is quite the powerful turnaround. Now, we've been seeing a lot of anti-stun stuff come out recently. In his Omicron, prevents revives. That is potential for like Reva, Night Sisters, a lot of things. And the first time another Ufu would be reduced to 1 health, if he's active, they recover 100% health and protection, gain damage immunity for 1 turn, take a bonus turn, and gain crit chance, damage up, and offense up for 2 turns. And who does that sound like? That sounds a lot like Jedi Knight Revan's Savior. So that's a great mechanic for Ufus. He's going to be an awesome shoo-in on a team. But it was like, I don't know. I was thinking Starkiller, but you can't have all Ufus, and I don't know. I don't know what an all dark side Ufu team would look like. So he might need more characters to make full use of his kit. Then while he's active, whenever an enemy has less than 100% turn meter and gains bonus turn meter, he gains Edge of Madness, and that enemy takes true damage. So this reminds me a lot of Tuskens punishing enemies for getting turn meter, and it's part of a greater trend of that, trying to get around speed and turn meter, all that kinds of stuff, and punishing all the teams that gain turn meter, which is so many. And last ability we got is his second unique, Strength is Power. It's a Zeta and Omicron. It's a lot of things that are just make him kind of bonkers, or seemingly so. His attacks can't be evaded, so just like Lord Vader. And he was defeated by him, can't be revived, just bar none. All of them can't be revived. Very strong. 75% counter chance all the time. That's crazy. 100% health steal. And at the beginning of the battle, he gets 25% offense for each other Ufu. If the ally in the leader slot is an Ufu, he ignores taunt. This is just a lot of things stacking up to make him kind of a big wrecking ball. And he also gets 50% health steal while debuffed. If you use an ability and he has accuracy up or defense up, he immediately uses his basic. Whenever he attacks out of turn, gains 10% crit damage for 3 turns. And when he's inflicted with daze, he dispels it. It reduces cooldowns by 1. So not only they were kind of creative with this. He's not just immune to daze, stun, and healing immunity. They actually help him in some way. You're either going to get damage immunity, your cooldown's reduced, or what does that happen when you dispel stun? Yeah, you recover health and protection. So you're actively helping him if you're trying to use one of these really powerful debuffs, and they're all really strong, really crippling normally. So I like to see what happens when you take Bad Batch against this team. So because they have all those debuffs are important. It's like, it seems like an anti-Bad Batch team on defense. Whenever an enemy dispels a debuff Malicos inflicted from one of his abilities, he gains a stack of Edge of Madness. And then in Grand Arena, at the start of the battle, he gains a stack of Madness until the end of the encounter, and all Ufus gain crit hit immunity for 2 turns, which can't be dispelled. That is amazing. Critical hit immunity is such a powerful buff, and having it locked for 2 turns, it's going to be really hard to get through that team. Just incredible. He also has 100% max health and 50% mastery. Whenever he uses an ability during his turn, he immediately uses Dark Strike. Whenever he attacks at a turn, he gains protection up 20% for 1 turn. Whenever another Ufu uses a special ability, he assists. So he's going to be attacking a lot. He's going to survive very well. The only question I have, he looks great, but the only question I have is, who is his team going to be? Like, he has to have Ufus. You're going to need to take unaligned Force users, that's clear. Dark Side, I think you want them more. most Unaligned Force users have a place almost handcrafted for them already. So Starkiller takes Mara Jade. The Inquisitors are their own thing. These Galactic Legends have their own team. Maul has plenty of places he can be used. Seer's already taking a lot of the leftovers. Commander Ahsoka has a home. But Seer is taking usually Cal Kestis, Kylo Ren Unmasked, Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum. Usually throwing in Visas Mar with Starkiller. Asajj with a Night Sister team for sure. Kylo Ren original doesn't really have a home. Second Sister doesn't really. And Rey Scavenger not really. But it's like, how much are you really going to do with them? And you don't want to use Malicos with Starkiller because Starkiller's ability is completely neutralized by not having the exact comp. However, in 3v3, that could definitely be viable because you could just have a dark side unaligned force user, a light side unaligned force user, and then Starkiller. So in 3v3, that could work. But otherwise, I'm just skeptical of who he's actually going to run with. Because if he runs with anyone, he's kind of going to be taking apart a team. And if he runs with people that don't have a team already, they're not really good. So that's really where I need to be convinced on him. Nevertheless, I definitely go hard on any Conquest character, so I plan on trying to unlock him first time. But I might be choosy with Zetas and stuff, or Omicrons, just the really hard to get materials that are always a bottleneck. That's all the news we have right now today. Again, my main focus is the raid, this new raid coming out this year. I think it's way too soon, and even though maybe I'm a little bit tired of hitting the crate raid so frequently, I think for the long-term health of the game, you shouldn't have something expire that fast. And if it's clearly better rewards for the new raid, then people that are prepping and investing for this raid are going to be really disappointed. Let me know what you think. Do you think a new raid will be cool? Do you think it'll be a return of rock, paper, scissors? Love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like if you did enjoy and sub if you haven't already. Thanks, guys. Peace out.